Afternoon, good.
Good. Could you go ahead and introduce yourself, please, to the jury?
Yes, my name is Jasmine. Susana was my sister.
And Jasmine, what's your last name?
Perez.
And Susana was your sister. So, give me your family, not your entire family tree, but who's your immediate family?
That would be just my mom, my older sister, and Susie. Just us three. Well, now it's more because I got married, but
Okay.
back then, yeah, it was just us three.
All right, so the family's expanding, but originally it's your mother, and that's the Maria.
Yes.
Lady who just testified. Okay.
Yes, sorry.
You have two sisters, so tell me about your older sister.
My older sister, we're about 5 years apart, if I'm not mistaken. I was a little more closer with Susie because we still used to live together at the time. We were 23 years apart. Yes.
So you and you call her Susie.
Susie.
Susana. So you and Susie, what's the age difference?
3 years.
3 years. So this occurred 2 years ago, or almost 2 years ago, July 2026. At that time, how old was Susie?
16.
And how old were you?
19.
And at the time that that the incident here in this case occurred, where were you living at?
I had already moved out, but I lived like 2 minutes away, like down the street.
Okay. And were you living by yourself? Or
Yes, I was renting a room.
Sorry?
I was renting a room, sorry.
Renting a room. Oh. And just roommates, or you said you? Well, let me ask you differently. You're married now.
Yes, I'm married now.
Okay. And when did you get married?
In September of that year.
Of 2022.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry if you hear me. I cannot remember. It was a year ago.
Okay.
It was a year ago.
Last year. Okay.
Yes.
yes.
Is that a yes? Okay, thank you.
Sorry, ma'am.
It's all right.
It's
not a problem.
okay. It's all right.
And of course, as we go through these questions that I have for you, if you don't understand anything, you can let me know.
Yes.
And there's also some water right here if you need some
Thank you
water.
so much.
Okay.
People don't feel free to just grab it and pour it while we're talking, but you can go ahead and grab it. If you want to grab some now, you can. And we
I think I'm okay. Thank you.
All right. So, how long before Susie was taken did you move out of your mother's home?
It had been only like a month or 2 months.
Okay. Now, prior to that, so you were kind of just freshly out on your own at that point? Prior to that, had you grown up in the home with your mother, with Susie, there in the house?
Yes.
Okay. How would you describe your relationship with Susie?
Well, I mean, like us sisters, we didn't have a perfect relationship. We would fight a lot. But as far as I can tell for her, she was a prankster of the family, the jokester. She was the one that would always make us laugh. If we were sad, she was the one that crack out a joke or make sure that we're okay. She had the most beautiful smile. And an amazing voice.
Did she like to sing?
All the time.
And what kind of things would she do for fun?
She was really into her self-care, so she always doing trying new hairstyles, doing her makeup. She was going out with her friends. She was learning the piano. She learned a few songs already, and she was starting to play the guitar as well.
Okay. How often would you speak to, and I say speak, I'm not huge on texting. I don't do it a lot, but I do text. So I mean, talking to on the phone, texting on the phone, messaging on social media platforms, and seeing her in person, kind of everything combined. How often would you interact with your sister Susie?
After I had moved out, maybe once or twice a week.
Okay. Now before that, before you had moved out the month or two before, would you see her every day?
Yeah, I would see her every day.
You feel like you knew her pretty well?
I would say so, yes.
And I think we all can make assumptions about sisters. I have 3 of them, and so I know them pretty well. You said that, like all sisters, you didn't get along. Sometimes you argued. Was it about sisterly things, things around the house? And
she would take my makeup.
She would take your makeup. Okay. And around the time of when Susie was taken, how was her? You were talking to her about once or twice a week at that time. What was her? We use the word demeanor, but I'll change it. How was she acting? Was she happy? Was she sad? How was she feeling?
I can tell she was happy. She was starting to go out with her boyfriend, Axel. So every time I would come over to the house, I was just talking, and I would be like, who are you talking to? And she would be like, I'm not gonna tell you. And then I would make her tell me, and then we would just like say hi over the phone. But she seemed happy.
Okay. So initially, when the relationship was new with Axel, she kind of kept it to herself. But I
knew.
You're a sister, so you have like a sisterly intuition about things. Okay. So, did y'all talk about boys often?
When I would notice maybe she was talking, I would always ask her, and she would end up telling me. After I was like, just tell me, but she would end up telling me.
Okay. I want to kind of move into July 26th of 2022. That day, do you recall that day? Okay. And I know it's difficult to talk about it, so if we need to take any break or anything like that, we can. Tell the jury kind of the first thing that happened that day that was odd in relation to this case, in relation to Susana disappearing.
The only thing that it was my mom called me. I think I was already asleep around that time, but she called me at night asking if I had heard from Susie because she wasn't answering any of her text or phone calls. And at that time, I really didn't think anything bad. I told her, it's okay. Let's just wait for tomorrow. Maybe her phone died, or maybe she fell asleep at her friend's house. That's what happened that night.
And do you have any recollection about what time approximately that was?
I would say from 10 to 11. I can't say for sure what time.
That's all right. So after you got the call, what did you weren't overly concerned at that point?
I wasn't.
About anything. What did you do after the phone call with your mother?
I do believe I tried calling her, and then when she didn't respond, I just texted my mom back. She didn't answer me.
Did you receive any other calls or texts from anybody about Susie that night?
No.
Did any of her friends reach out to you in some way and say, anything about Susie?
That night, no.
Okay. So after you talked to your mother that night, just kind of walk us through what the rest of your night looked like.
I was already asleep, so I think I just fell back asleep.
Okay. And what was the next thing that happened in relation to your sister disappearing?
The next thing, I went to work the next day around 6 a.m. So I remember that morning, like 2 hours into my shift, I believe, my mom called me. She's like, hey, Susie still hasn't come back home. I'm worried. And that's when I also started to get worried. So I told her just to give me a couple minutes. I'm going to talk to my bosses to see if they can let me go home. Because we wanted to make a police report. I was like, okay, wait for me. I'm about to be there. And I left, and that's when we called 911.
Okay. And what kind of work do you do?
At that time, I worked at a warehouse.
At a warehouse?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, once you left, where did you go in order to file the police report?
We called it at my mom's house.
Okay. So, you went to your mother's house. Did y'all just call like 911 at that point?
911.
Okay. And where did you meet the officers at?
In the driveway at our house.
Who all was present when the police showed up there?
It was my mom, Axel, and me.
And approximately what time, if you recall, did the police show up to take that report?
I can't say for sure, but I think 9 a.m. from 10 a.m.
Okay. So in the morning hours the next morning?
Yes.
Now, by that time, what information did you have about where Susie was at?
I can't recall exactly how it happened, but I know at that time we already had the screenshots to the Live 360 about her on the way home, and then all of a sudden moving directions, and then the crash alert, we did have that, just those screenshots.
Okay. And how did you get those screenshots?
I can't say if Kaya sent them to me or my mom sent it to me because Kaya sent it to her.
Okay. And did you know, you say Kaya, who is Kaya?
One of her best friends.
Now, did you know Kaya?
Yes.
All right, and how did you know her?
Well, Susie would bring her to the house. That's how I met her. And then sometimes we would all go out together, or they would ask me to take them somewhere, or just give them a ride.
Did you have Kaya's phone number? Did she have your phone number?
Yes.
So she could have sent you these text messages.
She could have.
Text messages, excuse me. The screenshots of Life.
Yes.
Had you talked to your mother or anybody else about the night before where Susie was going or where she ended up going?
No, just my mom.
I'm sorry?
You're asking if anybody else knew where she went?
Well, by the time you called the police, the next morning when you showed up to the house and the police get called, had you talked to your mother or anybody else to learn where more information, right, about where Susie was supposed to go the night before or where she actually went?
I think Axel. I asked Axel because I know I did go pick him up and he was there with us for the police report. So I believe that I asked him. I'm not sure. I can't remember if I did ask Esmeralda or Kaya or if my mom asked them on behalf of me. I'm not sure.
I understand. So Axel, and who is Axel?
Susana's boyfriend.
Her boyfriend? Okay. Now, you went and picked him up and brought him back to your mother's house, and so he was present along with you and your mother when you called the police.
Yes.
What was at that point when you talked to the police and made reports, did you speak mostly with the police?
Yes, I did.
Now, did you interpret for your mother?
Yes.
Now, and at that time, what was your understanding of where Susie had been the night before?
Well, that day we learned that she didn't go to Esmeralda's house like she had asked, or told my mom she was going to. She went to Kelly's house instead, and we found out because of the Life 360.
Okay.
Your Honor, if I may at this point, before we go any further, if I could just have a continuing objection.
Certainly, certainly.
That way I'm not interrupting.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. Sir.
You said that she had gone to Kelly's house, and you knew that because of the Life 360.
Yes.
Okay, and what do you mean by that? How did you know that because of Life 360?
Because I know Esmeralda lives in the neighborhood right in front of us, and she went to the apartment complex another way.
So, once you made the report, did you tell the police all of this information that you're sharing with us? Did you tell the police that?
Yes. Yes.
What did you and your family do at that point?
At that point, since we knew where we imagined she would have walked, we started walking that same area, and we talked to any stores that are on that street, and we also passed duplexes as well. So we were looking for cameras for the rings. So we were just trying to get to see if anybody could maybe have seen her. So that's what we were doing that about the following day.
I understand.